Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. By winning the Miss World title in 1959, Corinne Rotschafer helped reinforce the global spread of beauty pageants, a trend strengthened after the war, boosting cultural exchange and influencing international fashion standards, especially in Western Europe. During World War II, leisure habits like posing for creative photos grew even in hard times, as shown by the 1943 reference and forced perspective tricks at the beach, illustrating how visual escape helped ease the stress of the global conflict. During the filming of The Shining in 1980, Jack Nicholson is seen relaxing outside between intense psychological suspense scenes in the movie directed by Stanley Kubrick, a film that became a landmark by raising the bar for the horror genre. During World War II, in June 1944, after the Allied landings in Normandy, fresh beer was flown in by Spitfire Mark IX aircraft, organized by the Henniger and Constable breweries, helping boost morale among British soldiers on the French front. During the Siege of Tobruk on October 15, 1941, British soldiers improvised by using gas masks to peel onions, putting common World War II chemical defense gear to work, highlighting constant tension and quick thinking in the face of real threats. In the 1920s, postcards like the Naughty One reflected bolder social behavior after World War I, opening the door to more playful and provocative habits and boosting visual entertainment and flirting in social life. Recorded on January 1, 1943, this photograph of Nikola Tesla marks the final years of the inventor whose work on alternating current transformed electric power delivery, strongly shaping urban development and worldwide electrification in the decades that followed. During Paris's harsh winter of 1920, as shown by the scene of adjusting a wagon horse harness in the snow, the city still relied heavily on animal-drawn transport even after World War I, slowing the mass switch to motor vehicles. When he won the gold medal at the 1960 Rome Olympics, Cassius Clay, later known as Muhammad Ali, began a sports journey that would revolutionize boxing worldwide and open doors for civil rights discussions in the United States. Known worldwide as the tallest man ever recorded, Robert Wadlow reached about 8 feet 11 inches due to a rapid growth disorder, drawing attention at exhibitions across the United States in the 1930s and fueling intense medical debate about gigantism and endocrinology. During King Edward VII's funeral in London, 9 European kings gathered on May 20, 1910, creating a rare meeting of the continent's royal houses, and the moment came just before World War I, which led to the end of many of those monarchies. In the public eye in early 1980, Robin Williams surprised people by dressing as a cheerleader at a sports event, reflecting the height of his television influence with Mork and Mindy, whose popularity helped mainstream edgy humor in prime time. Built during the 1848 clashes in Paris, the barricade shown in this photograph represents the outbreak of that year's French Revolution, a turning point that brought down the July monarchy and led to the Second Republic, raising new democratic hopes in France. The year 1904 marked the peak of immigrant arrivals at Ellis Island, the official gateway to the United States, reflecting an open-door policy that turned New York into an ethnic mosaic, driving rapid economic growth and permanently changing the city's demographics. At the height of the Old West between the 1860s and 1910, Nebraska felt the influence of outlaws, a period when records like mugshots became essential for authorities, pioneering police identification and shaping crime fighting. When students watched at the Cathedral of Learning as the Pittsburgh Pirates won the 1960 World Series, a milestone was set in local sports history because the win, sealed by Bill Mazeroski's home run, boosted regional pride and shaped generations of fans in western Pennsylvania. The year 1951 marked the peak of nuclear testing that directly shaped the era's visual culture, as shown by the nuclear mushroom hairstyle inspired by the blast cloud, reflecting how fear and fascination with nuclear power entered everyday life. In 1984, as personal computing evolved quickly, trying to move files between a Commodore 64 and the first Apple reflected how hard system compatibility could be, driven by the rise of home computers and the emergence of different technology standards. During the traditional Monaco Grand Prix in 1966, Scottish driver Jackie Stewart, already known for his talent, used a Nikon camera while taking part, symbolizing the growing media influence on international racing and helping increase global visibility for Formula One. In the Soviet Union in 1982, Alexander Kuligin stood out by presenting the Pangolin, a self-designed car in Moscow, showing individual creativity even under strong state control, which brought international recognition to the Soviet engineer. The Heinkel HIA 111, G3 of the FSB-3. 4-unit rests on deep snow in Copenhagen during the harsh winter of 1943. The aircraft belonged to a pilot school formed on November 27, 1939, serving a technical role in flight training in a setting where weather conditions challenged local logistics. American military aviation reached a remarkable milestone over San Diego. Flying DH-4B biplanes, aviators Lowell Smith and John Richter carried out an in-flight fuel transfer on June 27, 1923, allowing aircraft to stay airborne longer and permanently changing global range and air logistics strategy. In the Netherlands in 1963, people who needed driving directions could call a navigation center and receive detailed routes, since global positioning systems did not exist yet. And this phone-based service increased reliance on technology for everyday travel. In the late 19th century, the work of Ponca scouts at the 101 Ranch in Bliss, Oklahoma, shows the impact of European colonial expansion in the region, as intensive buffalo hunting drove the species into decline and directly harmed indigenous ways of living. Loggers worked in California's sequoias, as captured by A.W. Erickson, an activity that drove regional economic growth by supplying lumber but also led to drastic loss of native forests, adding pressure for future environmental laws. In the early 20th century, Montana still faced a major population imbalance due to fast Western settlement in the United States and the dominance of men among pioneers. And ads like "Wives Wanted" directly symbolize the push to attract women to build families and stabilize communities, shaping local demographics. With colonial expansion in Aberdeen around 1880, the presence of native people in front of teepees points to the decade after the Indian removal policy took hold, forcing mass displacement and leading to growing loss of traditional land for these peoples in the Dakotas region. When the Statue of Liberty was being built in French sculptor Frédéric Auguste de Bartholdi's workshop in Paris in 1882, the work marked growing diplomatic cooperation between France and the United States, leading to the monument's unveiling in New York and strengthening ties between the two nations. The start of Volkswagen Beetle production in Wolfsburg in 1938 marked Germany's push to create an affordable people's car, aiming to modernize the country and strengthen the auto industry, which later made Volkswagen a national economic symbol. In late 19th century Stockholm, growing telephone use required clever solutions, like building an imposing telephone tower supporting 500 lines at once before automatic switching systems existed, helping drive technology forward toward modern telephony. When the Cincinnati Public Library launched its first bookmobile in 1927, it brought reading and information access to outlying areas, expanding the city's educational reach, and the milestone encouraged similar mobile services across the country in the next decade. By announcing in 1970 the feat Dave Kunst's World Walk, 21 pairs of shoes and 14,500 miles, it cemented the first officially recorded walk around the world, encouraging endurance journeys and inspiring later global adventure challenges. In the 1950s, United States, suburban growth brought wide-open spaces and yards, marking a post-war period of optimism that strongly shaped Stephen King's upbringing, with childhood experiences later feeding recurring themes in his writing. During the filming of How to Steal a Million in 1966, Audrey Hepburn strengthened her image as a film and international fashion icon, further raising the profile of female stars in Hollywood and helping open new leading roles for actresses in the next decade. The meeting between former American President Harry Truman and artist Pablo Picasso in Vallauris, France in 1958, highlights cultural diplomacy in rebuilding post-war Europe, bringing political leaders and artists together and influencing transatlantic creative partnerships. When David Bowie got ready as Ziggy Stardust in 1973, he represented the rise of glam rock, innovating by blending theater with pop music, enabling artists to explore identity and gender in new ways and making that boldness a cultural landmark of the 1970s. In 1964, when Alfred Hitchcock had fun imitating Ringo Starr, the Beatles' drummer was already one of the best-known faces of British youth culture, reflecting the peak of Beatlemania, a moment that cemented the group's global influence and reshaped popular music worldwide. As the Beatles prepared for an iconic album cover photo shoot in London, they marked the peak of a music revolution that reshaped global popular culture, reflecting the growing influence of British rock and driving the international expansion of the recording industry. During the filming of Casablanca in 1942, Hollywood strengthened its role on the world stage by making movies that reflected World War II tensions, helping spread American culture globally, and showing cinema as a political and cultural tool. In 1945, after World War II ended, the film industry tried to renew public interest, and the production Caesar and Cleopatra showed that effort by featuring Vivien Leigh, cementing her fame and influencing style standards in mainstream entertainment. In 1944, during the broadcast of the CBS radio Elgin Christmas show, Carmen Miranda gave a performance that showcased the growing influence of Latin American artists in the United States, boosting cultural exchange and cementing radio as the era's main entertainment medium. Janet Leigh was already an established name in Hollywood, built on the success of Golden Age American films, a period defined by powerful studios, which allowed her to land new standout roles in major productions of that time. In post-war Paris, outdoor bookstalls became cultural meeting spots, drawing notable visitors like Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward in 1959. Reinforcing the city's reputation as an intellectual hub and encouraging international literary tourism. In December 1963, the Beach Boys promoted the release of the holiday record The Beach Boys Christmas Album, reinforcing the trend of popular bands leaning into seasonal themes, which helped tie pop music to the commercial and festive Christmas atmosphere in the United States. In 1995, as Leonardo DiCaprio was emerging as a young Hollywood star, movies were shifting from practical effects to digital effects, expanding what actors could do in action scenes, boosting his career, and encouraging investment in bolder scripts. When Patrick Swayze played Dalton in Roadhouse, released in 1989, 1980s action cinema cemented the tough hero skilled in hand-to-hand fighting, marking the shift from genre stars to cultural icons and driving new waves of action movies centered on physical combat. Long before Google was founded, in the 1970s, finding information meant manually checking library catalogs, as shown by card files, a key milestone in organizing knowledge, and their limits helped push the development of digital search tools. The Euphonia automaton stood out in the 19th century for its surprising ability to imitate the human voice through mechanical devices, reflecting automation advances during the Industrial Revolution and pushing early work on artificial speech synthesis that influenced later inventions. Built about 700 years ago among rock formations in what is now Iraq, this structure reflects a long tradition of architecture adapted to harsh environments, tied to Mongol rule established after Baghdad fell in 1258, which reshaped local living patterns. With the urban transformation led by Baron Haussmann between 1853 and 1870 in Paris, traditional streets like Saint-André-des-Arts began to be documented by photographers such as Charles Marville, helping future generations understand how modernization radically reshaped the Paris cityscape. Crossing St. Patrick's Bridge in Cork around the turn of the 20th century reflects Ireland's rapid urban growth after the Great Famine, when infrastructure advances like bridges supported local economic development and stronger regional trade connections. In the early 20th century, Dublin faced severe housing and poverty problems, especially in alleys like Engine Alley recorded in 1900, during a time of rapid urbanization after the Industrial Revolution that led to overcrowding and unhealthy conditions for much of the population. With rapid urban growth under Franco's rule, Madrid's busy Gran Via in 1956 reflected government-driven economic modernization, pushing wider car use and heavy traffic, which increased the need for road changes in the Spanish capital. During World War II, women known as Rosie the Riveters entered United States war industries in large numbers in places like Fort Worth, Texas in 1942, meeting demand created by men sent to the front and permanently reshaping women's work opportunities. During World War II in 1943, the Swiss city of Winterthur stood out for its strong steel industry, contributing decisively to the local economy while the country remained neutral, which allowed it to supply vital sectors and create jobs despite outside conflicts. At the end of World War I in 1918, a crowd gathered in New York around a pyramid of captured German helmets to display Allied victory, showing a wave of patriotic excitement in the United States and helping drive war fundraising campaigns. In World War II in 1943, the timber industry in North Bend, Washington, gained national attention by supplying the United States war industry with wood essential for construction and packaging, boosting local economies and significantly changing the town's urban profile. The traditional New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square in 1938 cemented the spot as a global reference for massive public events, reinforcing New York as a symbol of modernity and entertainment, and directly supporting growing tourism in the city. In 1940s Chicago, going to church was a strong Sunday ritual for many African American families, reflecting community strength under racial segregation, which limited opportunities and encouraged local support networks and solidarity. In post-World War I Hungary, public expressions of different gender identity were risky, but the appearance of a lesbian couple in semi-drag wedding attire in Budapest in 1920 shows resistance and helped spark later debates about rights and visibility for diversity. The meeting between Charlie Chaplin and Anna Pavlova in 1922 reflects the peak of silent film and classical ballet in the early 20th century, bringing two distinct art forms together, and the contact helped open the door for later film and dance crossovers that influenced future artists. At the Oktoberfest held in Munich in 1928, uniformed women worked as waitresses, showing the growing female presence in public work during the interwar period, a shift reflecting economic and social change after World War I and leading to broader entry of women into Europe's workforce. During the heat wave that hit Berlin in 1926, city workers looked for creative ways to keep up with work, as shown by a businessman and his secretary using a pool as a workplace, highlighting weak infrastructure for climate extremes and pushing city debates on public measures to reduce heat impacts. On Santa Monica beaches in 1935, women surfers arranged themselves into a star shape on their Mondo boards, showing the decade's rise in female participation in the sport. That visibility helped challenge gender norms and encouraged future generations in surfing. In the post-war era, 1950s necklines shows how women's necklines became a fashion focus in the 1950s, shaped by designers like Christian Dior, whose new look created more elegant silhouettes and emphasized femininity, changing clothing trends worldwide. In the 1930s, portable changing booths became popular, reflecting growing concern for privacy at beaches during a time of modest swimwear. And this innovation helped more families feel comfortable visiting public shore areas. After World War II, between 1946 and 1950, King Frederick IX of Denmark became a symbol of modernization by showing his tattoos in public, challenging strict royal traditions and bringing the monarchy closer to the Danish people. In the 1980s, Manuti Bowl drew attention on United States college courts, standing out as the tallest among future National Basketball Association players, as records from the Time show helping push global recruiting and the international growth of pro basketball. Throughout 1890, Canal Street in New Orleans served as a major commercial and social hub in the American city, at a time when horse-drawn vehicles dominated, marking an important urban transition that would later support the growth of local public transit. In the 1950s, the rise in road trips in the United States pushed the use of bug screens on cars to protect radiators, a practical step taken by drivers worried about overheating caused by insect buildup, improving vehicle durability. In the 1950s, introducing seat belts in cars marked an important step in vehicle safety, later leading to legal requirements in many countries and sharply reducing serious cases in traffic crashes. In the 1950s, introducing seat belts in cars marked an important step in vehicle safety, later leading to legal requirements in many countries and sharply reducing the number of fatal victims in traffic crashes. During the Great Depression in 1938, ads like "Bargain used cars, $29 to $189 in Lancaster, Ohio showed how lower buying power boosted the used car market, encouraging creative sales methods like the partnership plan to make transportation more accessible. In 1925, as Hollywood reached its golden age, celebrities like Faye Webb stood out not only on screen, but also in newspapers for eccentricity and heavily covered public lives, cementing popular fascination with media figures and fueling the growth of entertainment journalism. In the early 20th century, the St. John's Park Freight Terminal, run by the New York Central and Hudson River Railroad at the corner of Hudson and Light Streets, reinforced New York as a railroad logistics powerhouse, driving heavy commercial flow and directly supporting the city's industrial growth. Right in Times Square, public campaigns against litter gained momentum, showing growing concern in American cities about urban cleanliness, and directly leading to more education efforts around everyday environmental responsibility. At the height of the Moulin Rouge in 1924, female performers got ready backstage for shows that shaped post-war Paris culture, strengthening women's presence in entertainment and opening paths toward greater social and professional independence in Europe. In the California Gold Rush, which began in 1848 in the El Dorado region, seekers from many places poured in, hoping to get rich fast, driving population growth and speeding California's admission as a United States state in 1850. During the 19th century gold rush, especially in 1871, using the cradle was key for placer gold mining, greatly speeding up extraction in promising areas, which drove heavy migration and the growth of mining towns. When the Detroit Church was built 134 years ago, the city's rapid urban growth followed the pace of the Industrial Revolution, resulting in heavy air pollution that gradually darkened its stone facade, which for decades was mistaken as original black material. In 1932, the Eiffel Tower went through an essential repainting for preservation, a regular process since it was built to prevent iron corrosion, helping set modern maintenance practices for major structures and supporting its long life as a Paris symbol. The city of Arg-e-Bam in Iran, with 1,500 years of history, stands as a landmark of mud brick architecture in Central Asia, strengthening building methods suited to desert climates, and its long survival supported the rise of trading centers along the Silk Road. In the 15th century, devotion to saints' relics at Neamt Monastery in Romania strengthened the influence of the local Orthodox Church, reinforcing religious pilgrimage practices and helping build Christian identity in Moldavia amid growing outside threats. During the making of the film Manhattan in 1979, New York solidified itself as an iconic setting in American cinema, projecting its cityscapes worldwide, and Woody Allen's choice of that backdrop helped link the city to sensitive stories about modern relationships. Sparring practice with the wooden dummy. Sandostein in February 1937 reflects the search for new physical training methods before World War II, when devices with springs and supports gained attention, improving workout quality and boosting athletic performance. In the early 20th century, as more modern urban areas emerged, public spaces became places to gather and relax, as suggested by the scene Feeding the Pigeons around 1915, showing how central city squares were to social life and to mixing different groups. In 1922, listening to music on a record player represented a major technological step in popularizing the phonograph, bringing sound entertainment into homes, changing cultural habits, and helping the music industry grow on a large scale. The rise of the Kendall Green Bicycle Club in 1884 showed the growth of cycling clubs in the United States, reflecting the bicycle's expanding role for leisure and travel, and directly helping popularize individual urban mobility. The opening of the John Delane Wagon Shop in Broken Bow, Custer County, Nebraska, in 1889 reflects United States' westward expansion during the era of farm settlement, providing essential support for local farmers and encouraging economic and population growth in the region. When automobiles took over Midtown Manhattan in 1925, pedestrians had to share streets with a growing number of cars, a direct reflection of the Fordism era in the United States. and the shift-pressured cities to create the first urban traffic laws. In the Vietnam War, Lo Man Hung, only 12 years old at the time, worked as the youngest photojournalist, documenting striking scenes near tanks and soldiers on February 18, 1968, in South Vietnam, showing how the conflict shaped civilian lives and even drew children into recording history. When Jack Delano photographed a typical Pennsylvania home in 1940, the country was still dealing with the effects of the Great Depression, which peaked in the prior decade, driving rural flight and changing everyday life in small communities like the one shown in the photo. During the World War I era, the scene of a couple in formal clothing in 1915 shows the influence of strict city dress codes at the time, reinforcing social divisions that made movement between economic classes harder. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.